Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Beyond the Headlines. I'm your host, Gordon Joseph, and with me tonight, I've got two wonderful folks. Ladies first, I've got Miss Cherri-Ann Farquharson. She represents the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, and also my good friend, Christopher Joseph. He is attached to the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. Ladies and gentlemen, good night and welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Good evening to you too.
All right, the pleasure is mine.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's start the ball rolling with a couple pointing questions. Firstly, the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. What is that agency all about, Ms. Farquharson?
So the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, CCREEE, because we know the name is a mouthful. We are an agency of CARICOM with responsibilities for accelerating the sustainable energy transition. So CCREEE was operationalized in 2018, and the mandate that we were given by the heads of government of CARICOM was to support the national government and the regional goals to be more sustainable. So looking at energy efficiency, renewable energy, and electric vehicles, sustainability on a whole, and to play our part to ensure that we can not just make the transition happen, but accelerate the rate at which the transition was happening. So helping to fill those gaps that may be noticed or observed at the national levels and at the regional level to ensure that we can actually have that secure energy future that all of us need. And we can't talk about a secure energy future without talking about the impact on our energy systems, the climate impacts on our countries, and ensuring that we are able to be resilient, to have affordable energy, and to have reliable access to it.
Okay, lovely. And where is CCREEE physically located?
Our headquarters is in Barbados, but we do serve all 15 CARICOM member states.
Okay. All right. Now, Chris, the Ministry for Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy, what is that ministry all about?
Thank you very much for having me on the program. And again, good evening to your viewership and listenership. Basically, the name says it. It's in a mouthful. It is the ministry that has responsibility to deal with climate change issues, climate resilience issues, the environmental issues in terms of biodiversity, and the range of other issues that makes up the environmental as a thematic area, and renewable energy, all of the good energy, if you will. Fossil fuel is considered, so you have fossil fuel based energy, which is coming from the earth in terms of the oil and gases that we would harvest from deep within the earth, and the renewable ones in terms of the solar PV, geothermal, wind, wave energy, and so forth. So it's about dealing with the range of issues in the context of those three portfolios.
Okay. All right. Now, I want to get this off from the start, okay? We're hearing quite a lot of talk about renewable energy and renewable energy and renewable energy. And where some folks might have a sort of understanding as to what we're talking about when we talk renewable energy, but from a scientific standpoint, what is a scientific definition for renewable energy?
So for energy to be considered renewable, it means that the fuel source, if you may, has to be something that would naturally replenish. So if you look at solar power, the sunlight it's there. The wind energy is in cycles, and it's always there. Wave energy, as Chris had mentioned. So for it to be renewable, it means that the resource or the fuel, unlike the fossil fuel that once you burn it, it pretty much has been expended, the renewable energy consistently replenishes, restores, and continues to be available, whether consistently or oftentimes on a cyclical basis. So for instance, that geothermal, that, continues to be replenished, the heat coming from the Earth's core. So that is the idea that the fuel source, so whether it is the sunlight, whether it is the wind, whether it is the wave, whether it is the geothermal, continues to restore itself.
And that also could include water, right?
Definitely.
Right. So, yes, because I remembered having heard that now, I remembered my geography teacher way back in McDonald College in the early days was talking about hydroelectricity and so forth. From a regional perspective, from CARICOM's perspective, is the region really ready to sustain itself on renewable energy? Because a lot of things are happening in the world today, and sooner than later, the sources of energy that we have now could either be, away from us, that we can't access it. We have the issues that are going on in Ukraine. We have what's going on in the Middle East now, and we know that's one of our major sources of oil. From CARICOM's perspective, are we anywhere close to where we're supposed to be in terms of renewable energy?
That is an excellent question. We're on our way there. So we have set ourselves a target of achieving 47% renewable energy generation by 2027. We are just about 11, 12% now, but we've been laying the groundwork to make that happen. So we would have started with the CARICOM energy policy in 2013 and followed that up with the CARICOM Sustainable Energy Roadmap and Strategy in 2015. Another action coming out of the policy was to have an implementing agency to drive the transition. And so you had the birth of CCREEE in 2018. And what we have been seeing is that the enabling framework that is required for the transition to happen is being laid. So we're putting the policies and the regulations in place at the national and the regional level. We are building the workforce to ensure that we are able to actually carry out this transition. We are making the progress towards accessing the financing that is required, because we understand that it's not gonna be, the upfront costs are not necessarily cheap. And so we're pulling all of the pieces together to ensure that as a region, we can get to that point of being able to rely on indigenous sources of energy to supply our energy, and recognizing also that we may not find all of the solutions in one technology, and we may not find all of the solutions in each country. So we must work together in order for us to be able to make that happen. And so we start looking at the energy system, not just as the individual islands, but looking at it from an integrated perspective, so that we can now think about that energy system and trading and sharing, whether it is through the connection of cables or it is through the production of green molecules like hydrogen and ammonia that can be shared throughout the region. It's not a matter of if we are ready. I think we're getting pretty close to that point where we don't have a choice but to be ready. Reiterating that some of the key points coming out of the CARICOM policy is for reliability, affordability, sustainability. And so reliability means that we have to be able to control or have predictability in terms of where the energy is coming from. And you mentioned some of the geopolitical issues that are happening. And so we need to be able to supply our energy from the indigenous resources that we have available to us within the region. And that is what we are working towards. We're seeing more of it happening in the region. And the CCREEE, along with our partners, including the CDB, the IDB, the UK FCDO, and the other development partners, are working on that regional integrated decarbonization plan so that we can get there, because we don't have a choice but to get there.
Okay. Now, Chris, from Grenada's standpoint, from your ministry's standpoint, what is the administration doing to ensure that we in line with the other regional territories?
Excellent question. There are a number of things that the government is pursuing in the context of, for example, the 2023 energy policy, which has as part of its emphasis and focus decarbonizing of the economy, moving away from the fossil fuel-based type economy, trying to get to integrating more renewables as part of our national development, so to speak. There are a number of things that it contemplates. So the energy policy, in that regard, trying to facilitate that change out, is really pushing an agenda of renewables, really trying to get to that stage where I think we can have more than the 1% renewables, 1 to 2% renewables that we have as part of our energy mix. We are attempting to diversify our energy mix. So there is an emphasis as part of this change out, for example, to pursue geothermal development. And this is a project that is entrained at the moment, trying to harvest and utilize the heat resource from within the earth to be able to power our energy needs, if you will. Geothermal is an excellent choice because we require something called base load energy, and geothermal provides an opportunity to so do. Base load energy is essentially energy on demand. At the moment, Grenlec has an installed capacity, I think it might be about 50, 52, 53 megawatts, generating electricity from fossil fuel primarily to provide the energy for our needs, to drive industry, to drive power in the homes that we require, to drive powers in our institutions that we require. That energy on demand is essentially base load energy, and geothermal provides the opportunity of base load energy to be able to provide that on demand. There are a number of things that are required as part of that process to eventually get to the stage of having the energy and electricity from the geothermal resource. But we are at a stage at the moment where a number of the technical works have been undertaken in terms of the analyses to figure out whether or not we have a geothermal resource. This has been through assistance from the governments of New Zealand and Japan, and we have identified that there is such a potential, such a possibility. The next phase would include trying to prove that resource, and there are a number of activities that are going on now. An environmental and social impact assessment had to have been undertaken in that regard, and the reports are available, and there is a consultation relative to getting the public's input into that process that is scheduled for the 9th of November at the Public Workers Union's building, and the public is invited to that activity. and essentially the consultants are going to be there to provide information in the context of that. So that's one process. We also have the opportunity to decarbonize through solar PV interventions. The sun shines in the daytime, and there is the opportunity to deploy solar panels that would be able to harvest the sunshine and produce electricity. It disappears at night, so there is a problem. So all of what is produced during the daytime, there are opportunities for immediate use, or we would have to undergo storage in terms of battery facilities to be able to store for future use. In terms of wind, there are opportunities. Trying to identify where the best wind regimes are in the state of Grenada. There are processes that are undergoing to try to identify that. And then there are other technologies, as our colleague from CCREEE pointed out. It's about a plethora of mixes in terms of energy to really diversify the renewable energy mix. Ocean technology, or OTEC, wherein you're using the temperature differential within a water column in the sea in parts that are appropriate around Grenada, have the appropriate depths. There is that possibility too. So there's a range of things relative to that renewable component as Grenada pursues in the context of its 12-year plan, national energy policy, to investigate and try to be able to bring those technologies to ultimate reality. There are cost issues with that. These various technologies, very expensive, and there are opportunities through the development partners and through the CDB and IDB and facilities through the UK and other funding institutions to be able to get financial assistance and technical assistance to be able to bring this to full development. In the case of the geothermal, at the moment we're at the stage where we have a fantastic chocolate cake. For example, somebody has given you this, prepared this chocolate cake for you. It looks wonderful on the outside. It looks like something that is going to taste absolutely, good to the taste. But then you actually have to now cut a slice and enjoy that to conclude that the proof of the pudding is in terms of eating the pudding, the proof of the cake in terms of eating the cake. So we actually now have to do some drilling as part of the process to be able to confirm that resource is of a quantity and a quality that will be able to produce the electricity we require. The technical analyses have indicated that potentially about 15 megawatts of power, or 42% of what is demanded by the state now, or within Grenada, mainland Grenada, 42% can actually be produced from that geothermal source. So the processes that are going to be undertaken is to actually prove that resource quality and capacity. And this is all part of the process in terms of the environmental impact assessment analyses and assistance from the CDB and so forth in terms of offsetting the costs associated with the development.
So in essence, as we wrap up the first segment, we need to go to a commercial break. It is safe for us to say that Grenada is well on its way towards meeting that regional target, Grenada's share of it. So Grenada is well on the way. It's safe to say that.
Well, the intention and the various discrete activities in terms of policy, in terms of projects, in terms of all the efforts to get us there, those things are in train at the moment. And it is the vision of the ministry and by extension the government to get us to this decarbonized economy, also part in the context of our climate change obligations. So yeah,
okay,
we are doing our best to get there.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we take a commercial break. We'll be right back after these, folks. I'm speaking with Ms. Cherri-Ann Farquharson. She represents CCREEE, the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, and Mr. Christopher Joseph, representing the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. We take a commercial break. We'll be right back after these. Don't you go anywhere.
When you need your prescription filled or you require non-prescribed medication, supplements, or all your personal needs, visit Gittins Healthcare at locations on Wall Street, Grand Anse, Victoria Street, Granville, and Central Deputy Street, Wall. Gittins Healthcare aims to provide an exceptional personalized pharmacy experience. Additionally, children under 5 and adults 55 years and over will enjoy 10% discount on purchases of $20 and over on prescription medication. Stop settling for less. Visit Gittins Healthcare, where your health is our priority.
Hello? Who coffee? Okay, hold on, let me call him for you. Coffee? What are you doing there?
Yo, some bush are looking for a cola already. How I know?
Boy, since yesterday, I keep telling you to go by the pharmacy and get something for that cough. You won't go, but you only damn coughing in my head. I cook 'em.
Nah, I can't go in town there, man. It's much a long line, I don't know it to pack.
Boy, who tell you anything about town? Right in Calivini, they are said, you know.
Calivini? Where in Calivini are pharmacy?
Right in front where Appa had his garage. On the right hand side, after Tamara James, when you're going down to town, right there.
True. But I didn't know that.
Yes, boy. And the way you see how you're coughing there, better check the doctor one time when you're there.
Is that doctor too?
He have family doctors, he have gynecologists, he have ultrasound, he have all kind of specialists you can think about. Even doing blood tests and all.
But there's a hospital.
Like you say that, and they have parking in front and behind the building. So don't worry about that.
Well, let me run down there quick, eh?
Well, you can pick up my medication for me one time. I don't want to tap it for the night.
After you all want to buy somewhere? Complete Care Pharmacy and Medical Services provides pharmaceutical services, family doctors, gynecologists and other specialized doctors, ultrasounds and laboratory services. Located on the Calivini Main Road. We're open Monday to Saturday. Call our WhatsApp 473-423-3638 or visit our Facebook page, Complete Care Pharmacy and Medical Services, for more info. Complete Care Pharmacy and Medical Services. Care you can trust right here at home.
Grenada, get ready. A new season of the Grenleg Debates is coming. Informative, impromptu, bright young minds sparking powerful ideas. The Grenleg Debates. The Grenleg Debates will be broadcasted on GBN TV Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m., Sundays at 4 p.m. Broadcast begins Saturday, October 7th. Tune in.
Your life is yours, your future's in your hands. Your body is yours, need a plan. You gotta plan your family, avoid HIV, get the education from the Grenada Planned Parenthood Association.
We offer STI screening, gender-based violence counseling, prenatal and postnatal checks, injectables, condoms, pap smears, and other sexual reproductive services. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Pointe Street, St. George's. Whether male or female, it doesn't matter. We're here to make your life better.
Grenada Planned Parenthood Association.
For appointments, call 440-3341.
Welcome back, viewers. Beyond the headlines for this Monday, the final Monday in the month of October. It's the 30th, and tonight we're talking CARICOM Energy Month. And my guests tonight are Ms. Cherri-Ann Farquharson and Mr. Christopher Joseph. Now, CARICOM Energy Month, what is that all about?
CARICOM Energy Month is celebrated November each year. And during the month of November, we aim to inform and educate the citizens of CARICOM on the various initiatives that are happening at the regional and the national level with regards to the energy transition. We also take the opportunity to hear from the citizens of the Caribbean in terms of what it is that they would like to see in the energy transition. And so there are activities that take place at the regional level. This year, the theme for Energy Month is driving innovation, accelerating change. And so we are looking at powering transport. And when we say powering, we're not just talking about electric vehicles, but that is a part of it, but also looking at other opportunities for sustainable fuels in the transport sector, like hydrogen and ammonia, and not just on the roads, but also in the shipping, whether it's cruise shipping, cargo shipping, and we've seen opportunities or more research happening as it relates to sustainable fuels for air travel, for ferries. So there are lots of opportunities. So we want to share with persons in the Caribbean what is happening at the regional level, coming from the CARICOM Secretariat, the CARICOM organizations, and then with the energy focal points in each of the countries, there are activities also happening. So the flagship event for CARICOM Energy Month is the Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum. This is a biennial event, and this year it's being hosted in Kingston, Jamaica, where we'll be bringing together energy ministers, transport ministers, and officers from across CARICOM to share their experiences, to examine best practices as it relates to the sustainability of the energy and transport sector, as well as looking at the supporting framework, the policies and the regulations that are required, the financing that is required, the capacities that are required to make that transition happen and to make it happen in a sustainable way. There are also activities that will happen at the national level in Grenada, and I will invite Chris to share with you what activities are going to be taking place on the ground in Grenada. But CARICOM Energy Month is our opportunity to share with you the initiatives that are taking place at the regional level, at the national level, and to formally invite you to participate in the sustainability of the region, because there is a part for each of us to play. And so we want to use this opportunity to educate and to also invite you to share with us your thoughts, your insights, ask your questions, so that we can ensure that what we're doing for the people of the Caribbean is being received, and that it is actually, that you understand exactly what it is that we're trying to do. We need your buy-in for this to happen, because there is a part for each of us to play, and we want to ensure that you understand and appreciate what it is that we're doing. And if it is that there are challenges that are happening, we're opening the door for you to share that with us as well. So I'll invite Chris to talk about what's happening in Grenada.
Chris, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So part of the national level activities would be, for example, an exhibition at the Esplanade Mall on November the 10th. And this is going to involve stakeholders in the context of energy-related services, energy-related information. So from energy conservation, information, energy efficiency information, technologies pertaining to energy efficiency, solar technology, lighting technology, information being shared in the context of the geothermal initiative and technology, electric technology also. So in the electric vehicles, there is going to be the opportunity for a range of stakeholders to bring to the public so that they can interface, ask questions, be able to get involved in a front and center way in terms of the technology and also in terms of information. There is also a video and photo competition, and I think that the information is out. It is on the ministry's social media Facebook page, and that is Climate Resilience and Environment Facebook page. There's information there pertaining to the video and photo competition, wherein you know, all generations, not only the youth, not only you know, young persons, but everybody, all and sundry, is invited to participate in terms of being able to showcase various things pertaining to energy in their communities and in the state on the whole. There is information in terms of the criteria that, you know, these submissions will be judged by, and there are prizes in terms of financial prizes for first, second, and third positions, if you will, out of this competition. So I think the competition it runs for the month of November, and information is also being shared through the various social media, terrestrial, radio, TV platforms. In addition to that, there are 3 walks, and they are labeled or branded as Kilo Walk, and there are 3. One is going to be in St. George's, one in Guelph, and another one in Hillsborough. And essentially, those walks are going to either commence or terminate at a site where renewable energy is present or is showcased. So, for example, it might be a solar PV in the context of Carrick-Hoo. I think all 3 sites, it is solar PV installations. Those sites are going to play a role in the context of the walks. And then, like what we're doing this evening, in terms of trying to bring information to the public, trying to raise awareness on the issues in the context of energy, in the context of CARICOM Energy Month, in the context of trying to get individuals so that we can make informed decisions and choices pertaining to our energy needs.
Okay. Now, both of you earlier in the conversation spoke of we're in the developmental stage of, the renewable energy sector, and it's very costly. You mentioned funding coming from CDB and IDB and other financial institutions out of Europe. Now, what's in it for these financial institutions? Are they going to be giving grants, or is it loans, or what? Because at the moment, the people of the region are crying out with the cost of energy. And if we are going to get into something else, we are expecting that it will be lighter on our pockets. So with these financial institutions being mentioned, it comes to my head that is this loans that they are giving, or, so that, the bodies that regulate would have to be charging and so forth higher costs? So explain that.
All right. It is actually a mix of financial instruments that are being offered by the multilateral bank. There are grants, especially as it relates, as Chris would have mentioned, like the technical assistance that is taking place with regards to geothermal. A lot of that work is happening through grant funding. There are going to be, in that mix, some low interest loans. But keep in mind, these are development backed. So they're not looking to necessarily get rich off of these projects, right? And so there are a lot of it. We do try to focus on the opportunities for grants, but there are some low interest loans. One of the things that I want us to keep in mind as we think about the price that persons will have to pay is that you are not necessarily going to see the price drop immediately. It will take some time for that to happen. And so our focus has been on affordability, reliability, sustainability. The price will eventually, that is a part of it, of energy security, to see the price eventually go down. But implementing renewables does not equate to an immediate price drop. And I know there are some persons in some of the other Caribbean countries who have had that expectation and not see it happen, because there are also other things that go into pricing. There is the foreign exchange rate that will play a part in this. So there are several things that are going into what the price of energy actually is. And we're thinking more along the terms of the long term, that eventually we're working towards having energy being more affordable, more accessible in communities that may not have ready access to electricity. But we are grateful that our multilateral partners are along with us for the development of the region. And so there is a significant amount of grant funding that is available, even though there are some low interest loans that are a part of that package.
A lot of talk and a lot of energies and resources are being thrown around as it relates to climate change and climate resilience. Are they going to coincide anywhere?
They definitely are already coinciding. Energy and climate are inextricably linked because of the impact of the energy system on the climate system. So those who are in the science would understand that our dependence on the traditional forms of energy is what has accelerated the changes that we're seeing in our climate. And so there is that inextricable link from the scientific side. And so the solutions similarly have to be linked. And so what we find is that when we start talking about climate mitigation, we're looking at decarbonizing the energy system. And so there are opportunities there. When you talk about adaptation to the changes that we're already seeing in climate, then you start looking at changing the energy system, moving away from just your centralized sources of delivering energy. So you're now having distributed energy resources, because it may be easier for you to bring online a smaller system as opposed to bringing the entire grid back up. So if you have it in small, so you're seeing persons exploring the opportunity of microgrids as a part of the resilience of the system, because we do know it's not a matter of if we're going to get the intense storms. It's a matter of where in the region it's going to happen and how many persons are going to be affected. And so when we look at the mitigation to avoid or to reduce or limit the impacts of climate change, energy is a part of that conversation and therefore a part of the financing opportunities. And when we look at how we're going to adapt to the changes that we're already seeing and the changes we expect, then the energy system also plays a role there, and therefore funding is available. And that is why one of the key partners in this transition is the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, the 5 Cs, because we must work together. We cannot disassociate energy from climate or climate from energy. And with that recognition, there are definite clear opportunities to work together where energy and climate are concerned.
We mentioned it earlier, the turmoils that are taking place around the world now. We know historically the region's administrators, they like to go to the big workshops and conferences and all sorts of things and do a lot of talking. But the eventualities are here now. We do not know for certain what would happen in Palestine. And, you know, that is a very critical point for us as it relates to our energy source. It's the news is saying that the turmoil there can escalate and a whole lot of things can happen. We saw what happened with the pandemic. We had issues with getting our food and so forth. Is that an added stimulus for regional leaders to ensure that they really stay on top of this renewable energy agenda?
Definitely, because the geopolitics of energy and the impacts that it has on the Caribbean as small island states is definitely a part of it, and a part of the impetus for us to pursue regional energy security and decarbonization. And we are blessed in the Caribbean with the sunlight, with the wind, with the geothermal energy, with the rivers, with the oceans. And so the CCREEE is actively pursuing a regional energy integration and decarbonization strategy with our partners. And that strategy is looking to address just that. How do we secure our energy system from all of the price shocks, from all of the political shocks, from all of the challenges that happen outside of the region that are going to impact either the price of energy or the logistics of getting energy? And I know that CARICOM is also pursuing, you mentioned food. There are opportunities looking at securing our agriculture. And looking at how we can benefit from each other. And one of the key things is that no single Caribbean country is going to be able to do everything that is required to secure their own future. We must work together. And that is the opportunity that we have with these regional organizations that have been set up by the heads of state of CARICOM, to look for those opportunities and to forge those synergies so that together we're able to reap those benefits and to be able to support each other throughout this transition that is required. So it's not just an environmental issue. It's not just a financial issue. It begins to affect livelihoods and lives. And so we definitely have to make those changes. We definitely have to work together, find the opportunities and work towards making them reality for the region.
So it's likely that this renewable energy thrust, together with, when it's coined with climate change, it can see a sort of resuscitation of the West Indian Federation coming back.
I don't want to speak on that.
Okay,
but
just plead the fifth. It's okay to plead the fifth.
At those, but definitely, yes, the opportunities for us to work together are clear. The federation predates me, but I definitely see the opportunities, and they are clear for us to be able to support each other and to work together. And I think that is what CARICOM is trying to achieve. This is the 50th year of CARICOM, and we definitely have seen the benefits of working together. And we will continue to share those synergies, to learn from each other. Different countries are at different stages of the transition. And so we can learn lessons from each other. We can share the regulations that work. We can share the policies that have been able to drive investment. We can look at the incentives that have been able to support the development of the energy sector. And so there are clear opportunities for us to work together. I don't know if it will get us as far as reviving the federation, but definitely there are opportunities for us to collaborate, to partner, and to see us going further together.
As the people of CARICOM, the layman, the citizenry, what is CCREEE expecting from us, the ordinary citizens, in order to ensure that we really maximize the real potential that we have as it relates to renewable energy? What are you expecting from us as citizens?
So I would have said in the beginning that there's a role for each of us to play. And so the citizens of the Caribbean, I'll put it in two buckets. Some of the things that you can do, and some of the ways you can hold us accountable for the things that we've said that we are going to do. So as it relates to renewable energy, not everyone will be able to necessarily purchase a solar system or batteries for their home, but you can use the energy that you have access to more efficiently. And so we've seen, the opportunities for as simple as changing out your light bulbs, as simple as walking or riding a bicycle as opposed to driving everywhere. Being mindful of your own carbon footprint, and doing what you can to be more efficient and to conserve energy where you can. To share with others, those opportunities and those lessons that you have learned. But there's also that opportunity to hold your leaders, your regional organizations accountable for what we have committed to do, and to ensure that we are actually meeting your needs. And I go back again, I think I've said it a couple of times before, reliable, affordable, sustainable energy is what we are committed to providing, and to ensuring that you hold us accountable to doing that, but also participating. If there are training courses, get yourself educated, retool your skills if it is that you are not necessarily working in the sector. Take an advantage. So within the CARICOM Energy Knowledge Hub, that is a facility operated by the CCREEE, there are free training courses that are available. There are lots of resources available for students as well, so that they can learn more. And once you're educated, you can help to take a more active role in the energy transition. But also ensuring that you show up to the town hall meetings, participating in the Kilowalk, the things that are happening on the ground in country, so that you can learn of whatever other opportunities there are. You can ask the questions that you have, and again, take that opportunity to hold accountable, hold us accountable to the commitments that we have made, either at the national level or at the regional level.
Chris, Grenada, what are you expecting from us here, from Grenada's standpoint? You listed a number of activities that will be held during this month, and something that comes to mind, in the not too distant past, we heard a lot of talk about wind energy could be generated from Cherri-Ann the hydro from our waterfalls and so forth. Are these narratives still in the air?
Yeah, they are. It's about trying to diversify the energy mix and being able to get the best bang for the resources that you can get access to or have access to in terms of being able to really bring these technologies to full development. And it's going to be location specific. So it requires the work to be able to do the proper analyses to identify where the wind regime is best. Is it in Kublao? Is it at a certain part in Carriacou? Is it better in PT Martinique at a different location? But it requires the work and the analyses to be undertaken. Where are the resources going to be coming from? There are the opportunities, as Cherri alluded to. There are opportunities through the Green Climate Fund, the Global Environment Facility, to be able to undertake certain things. These things are pegged to climate change and the environment as a specific theme, but there's the opportunity to obtain resources through those facilities, through those mechanisms, to be able to undertake the proper detailed, comprehensive analysis so that informed decisions can be made to go forward or to go in a different direction. We don't have capacity in at the local level, and this is not necessarily unique to Grenada. Small island developing states have challenges relative to capacity. So these kinds of facilities, for example, provides the opportunity of having access to technical and financial resources to be able to undertake those detailed kinds of work that is required to make the decisions. And there are processes that you have to obviously go through and follow to be able to get the assistance by way of grant, by way of concessionary financing. But in the main, in the context of grant monies, there are the opportunities to so do, getting access to the technical capacity to be able to do the work. You spoke of water. Interestingly, climate change is also having an adverse impact on water resources. And there are some places, since you're perhaps having to use gravity-fed water to turn turbines and so forth to generate electricity from hydro, the impact that climate change is having on such a resource then also means that, there's more reason why you have to look at diversifying to yet another source. And this is where wave energy and so forth can come in, but it is obviously costly. It is obviously intensive in terms of the appropriate human and technical resources to be able to undertake the analysis. But yeah, Chris, that objective is still there.
From your humble analysis, how high up on the priority list is this renewable energy thrust in this current administration transformational agenda? How high up on the list do you think it is? Are they serious about this?
The cabinet has approved the national energy policy in June or July of this year. And I think this is demonstrating, a high level of priority in the context of the transition. Climate change, we are, so all of this conversation and this issue, fuel and climate change, there's a nexus, a major nexus. And in terms of the science has indicated to us what is the reason for climate change. Yes, it is all about, and I think the word is anthropogenic. It is human-induced. It is human activity. It is our lifestyle choices relative to the use of energy, our waste management practices. So methane, for example, which is a greenhouse gas, is being produced, could be produced from inappropriate waste management practices, our agriculture practices, our forestry practices or deforestation practices. So agriculture, it is very hot these days, and GrenLec has been having to produce more and more electricity to be able to satisfy our needs to stay cool, to run the air condition, to run the fans, to run the refrigerator so that we can have conveniently cold drinks and so forth. There is an unintended consequence or a direct consequence as a result of these demands for energy, which is going to negatively impact on climate change. So the point is, to the extent the government has set as its agenda the objective of becoming carbon neutral by a particular date, we have 2030 as a guideline in terms of us trying to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that we produce. So the objective is, in 2010, for example, we were producing 251,649 tons of carbon dioxide. Yeah, that's a small amount. It's perhaps about 0.0005% of global emissions. If we look at China, for example, using the same year as a benchmark, China generated 8.617 million metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So Grenada, is relative to China, is a very small amount, but at the end of the day, we have an objective as part of what a policy document that Grenada submitted in 2020, which is known as Grenada's Nationally Determined Contribution, so NDC for short. And in that policy statement relative to climate change, we are trying to put systems in place to reduce by 40% that 251,000 plus quantum of CO2 that we emitted. And if by 2030, we are trying to reduce it by 2030, and if we are successful in doing so, the amount of emissions that we generate should be down to about 150,000. How we are trying to get there, it's about trying to move away from fossil fuel, so trying to get to a cleaner generating capacity, if you will, to produce the energy that the country needs in terms of to undertake development, to undertake keeping our medication cool, keeping our fruits and fresh vegetables cool, running the air conditions to keep us cool. All of that is in the refrigeration and air condition sector. So we need to do things differently there. the vehicles that we drive currently, in terms of the internal combustion engine vehicles, it is fossil fuel based. So there is an objective to, by 2030, essentially phase out and have electric vehicles as part of our mix in terms of, trying to reduce the agriculture practices, waste management practices. All of those things are a package of activities that the state has committed to try to get to that 40% reduction on 2010's levels of emissions.
Wow. Well, I am quite confident, listening to yourself and Ms. Farquharson. I'm confident that we have competent people in the right positions that will ensure that we have a smooth transition of that process, because I am worried. I am getting worried, not for me, I'm an old man, but my grandchildren. When they come around, I want them to be in a safer zone. We have almost exhausted the time, so I'd give Ms. Farquharson an opportunity to just speak to the people of the region and let them know of, the plans for CARICOM Energy Month from CCREE's perspective.
All right, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you and to speak with your viewership. So for CARICOM Energy Month this year, beginning in a couple of days, we'll be kicking off Energy Month with the Caribbean Energies and Investment Summit in Barbados. So we've spoken a few times about financing this transition. So that is going to be front and center at the beginning of the Energy Month activities. And then next week, we will be in Jamaica. We'll have an electric vehicle expo, as well as the Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum, which is bringing our energy and transport ministers and or technical officers or development partners or universities, private sector, everybody coming together to look at powering transport, and to keep in mind that we're not just talking about the road in terms of the electric vehicles, but we're also looking at other alternative fuels, including hydrogen, as well as looking at the shipping sector as well. We also have the CARICOM Women in Sustainable Energy Awards, because we want to ensure that we're not leaving anyone behind as we make this transition. And so CARICOM WISE was conceptualized to recognize the role of women, of young women in the energy space, and to also highlight to our students that this is an opportunity for you to participate in the transition. And so CARICOM WISE has different categories of awards for the women working in the public sector, women in private sector, women, young women who are leading in their communities. And so we invite you to look out for and nominate persons for the CARICOM WISE Awards as a part of Energy Month. And wrapping up Energy Month from the regional perspective, at COP28 is going to be a forum in the CARICOM Pavilion for those who will be attending the Conference of the Parties. So you can look out for that to participate. And those of us here can join online to hear what is actually happening, what are the plans, how the negotiations are going. Chris would have mentioned the nationally determined contributions that the different member states would have made. But also there are some responsibilities for those who have been definitely emitting significantly more than those of us in the Caribbean. And so we will be united together, going to the Conference of the Parties and hosting in the CARICOM Pavilion dialogue there as it relates to financing this transition. So those are some of the key activities in CARICOM Energy Month: driving innovation, accelerating change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Farquharson. Chris, Grenada, just remind us once again what the month entails for us.
So again, the activities, the Keystone flagship exhibition, the 10th outside the Esplanade Mall. A range of stakeholders that are involved in the whole business of energy, sustainable energy, energy efficiency, and energy savings opportunity by way of technology, by way of the lighting fixtures and equipment that is available. No longer should people be using incandescent or the yellow. Well, you can get warm yellow in terms of LEDs these days, and that's part of the new technology. But the incandescent bulbs, this is something that is actually not good for you in terms of your energy consumption by way of lighting. Ultimately, over a period of a year, you'll be spending way more money. The fixture is cheaper, but you'll be spending way more money in terms of electricity bill as compared to using a more energy efficient technology. So bringing that information, bringing the products to the people, bringing the technology by way of the electric vehicle, individuals can come and find out and see, to the extent that the public is convinced that this technology works, can power you around Grenada with the amenities of music and air condition and carrying the vehicle to capacity in terms of body count. So to be able to demonstrate that and show that to people in a real way is going to help in terms of being able to bridge the gap in terms of people may be skeptical that this technology is here and it works and it can deliver as an internal combustion engine vehicle can. So the exhibition is going to be key. There are going to be energy savings tips shared throughout the month on relative to domestic, residential persons, businesses, electric vehicles, even internal combustion engine vehicles in terms of how you drive, in terms of pressure in your tire. Those things contribute significantly relative to the use. Cherri did speak about making best use of a unit measure of fuel, of energy. So it's about using it efficiently as compared to wasting it. That is going to be key in terms of the tips we share. There is going to be the walk, and the competitions is also part of the activities. We do have challenges, and one of the key things is that we require personnel. We require, so your relatives that are the generations that are not here, they depend on human resource to make wise and appropriate decisions now so that they can benefit in the future. So we need capacity. Yes, it's all brilliant to have the lawyers and the economists and those particular professions. But now, as we move into this new era where return on investment, concepts about return on investment that is being made, and you have had queries relative to the financing of initiatives and so forth. So return on investment is a key concept relative to whether or not a project may go ahead or not. So we need individuals with deliberate and specific skills. So climate economists and environmental economists and people that are doing climate modeling, all the mathematicians that we have that are coming through the system. So we really would want parents that are listening and those that are the children that are in tertiary education and senior level education going on to university to rethink the career choices that you're about to make and to be able to really contribute to Grenada's capacity needs and the region's capacity needs relative to those kinds of specific professions that are going to be able to deal with the climate realities and the energy realities and so forth that are confronting us. Thank you.
Okay. Well, lady and gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing with us. And I've got very good memory. So in the not too distant future, I'll be checking up on you all to see what progress is being made. I like that surname, so I will remember that surname. And I maybe just drop in Barbados. Where are you, on Spry Street?
No, we're on Country Road.
Okay, all right.
But
so
we are very much in Bridgetown, yes.
Okay, all right. I want to wish you all the best, and in the final analysis, the people of the region will benefit significantly from this transition. So thank you very much, Ms. Farquharson and Mr. Joseph. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and all the best. Have a good evening.
Thank you, and the same to you and your viewership.
Thank you. Same to you and your viewership.
And folks, that's the program Beyond the Headlines for tonight, Monday night. And I have been speaking with Ms. Cherri-Ann Farquharson. She represents the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. And Mr. Christopher Joseph, a representative from the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. That's the program for tonight. I've been your host, Gordon Joseph. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Peace out.
Have you heard about the new Softweed bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, a bathroom tissue